Okay, good afternoon. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied. Today I'm really thrilled and honored to have with me as my guest Karl Mecklenburg, who's a former NFL Denver Broncos Super Bowl winner and now a motivational speaker. Karl, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Richard. I have to correct you though. I lost three Super Bowls. Never won.
You should have
So
just left that
yeah,
intro. You should have just left it.
those were tough though. I learned a lot. Losing the top 10, nine of the top 10 uh, television programs in the United States were Super Bowls.
Oh
And
my God.
to lose three of them badly the way we lost was interesting. It's interesting. The
Interesting.
sun comes up the next day. You made some mistakes, you fix the mistakes, you get ready for the next day and you move on. It's an interesting feeling. And truthfully, I've talked to a number of Bronco guys who won Super Bowls and and they were surprised at how quickly other players left, coaches got fired, things changed. All of a sudden they're worried about the next year and on they go.
Oh, interesting. Well, maybe that sets you up for the motivational speaking that you do. Do you think that may be true, actually?
I think it helps. I'm not concerned. I don't have any stage fright. I've failed in front of the world repeatedly. So yeah, truthfully, that's part of it, and part of it is I think there should be anyway. There should be introspection after something you've worked at all year long and get to this point or your whole lifetime and get to this point and all of a sudden it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you look at yourself and you figure out what went well and you try to repeat that and what didn't go well and throw that out and off you go.
Interesting. Well, tell me a little bit, take me back. I assume playing in the NFL, was that always your childhood dream, or was that a later in life thing that just kind of happened?
Yeah, no, that was I always loved football.
Uh-huh.
But truthfully, my favorite sport was hockey growing up.
Oh,
I grew up
funny.
in Minnesota. I was a hockey goalie and loved it. When I had dreams of professional sports as a kid, it was hockey.
Yeah.
But I grew 3 inches and 40 pounds my first year of college, and things changed. I got really good and had the opportunity here with the Broncos, and it was a special time. 12 years. I think we had two losing seasons in 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah, we were a very good team, always in contention, and won a whole lot of games.
I noticed your major in college was biology. Were you thinking you might be a doctor or something after
I
playing
was.
football, or what were you thinking? Why did you pick biology as
Yeah,
a
my
major?
dad was a doctor, and I saw how much he
Oh,
loved his work, and I
oh,
wanted that for myself. Now,
hmm.
pre-med is not, you don't really do any doctoring as a pre-med student.
Yeah,
You're studying
yeah.
chemistry, you're studying biology. There's no real connection other than trying to weed you out, I guess. So,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
was uh, I was ready to go. I mean, I made the team, and so I didn't go to medical school. But if I hadn't made the team, I was my my middle name is Bernard, named after the guy who was the head of admissions at Albany Medical School. I was in.
Interesting. I'm gonna guess that you were the only pre-med student that was also on the football team, though.
Maybe so. So it's interesting though, as you go up the levels in the sport, every step along the way is more and more mental.
Yeah, yeah.
And more you have to learn, more and more you have to adjust to. When I got to the Denver Broncos, we had 120 different defenses, each with adjustments that changed depending on our opponent. If you couldn't keep up mentally, it doesn't matter how big or fast you strong you are. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
you don't have a chance. So for me, that I was better as a high school player than in Pop Warner. I was better as a college player than high school, better as a pro than I was in college, just because it was more and more of a mental
When
exercise.
you first joined the Broncos, did you have an idea of how long you would play in the NFL, or you really
Not,
didn't?
not at all. I was hoping I'd make a little money and use that to go to medical school, truthfully.
Oh,
I had never played linebacker in my life until my third year in the NFL.
oh,
My
wow.
Pop Warner coach said he's a big kid. He's a lineman. I was a lineman. I was a lineman all the way. In 77, that's a lineman's number. That's not a linebacker's number. They drafted me as a nose guard. 3 years in, Joe Collier, who just passed day before yesterday, Joe saw something in me and he said, Carl, we think you're really a linebacker. You're just out of position. And
Huh.
they moved me. I made the Pro Bowl that year as a linebacker, and the rest is history.
What did you enjoy most about the NFL? I mean, was it getting to the Super Bowl or was it something else really?
Yeah, just the man on man challenge of, I mean, these are the best athletes in the world, and
Yeah, yeah.
you're testing yourself against them over and over and over, and that challenge to me was amazing. Just to get out there and play as a team, work as a team, succeed and fail as a team. Those friendships I have, I've seen them at their worst, and they've seen me at my worst, and vice versa. And we're friends for life. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
through those things together.
So after a long career in the NFL, how did you figure out what to do next? Or was it obvious? How did you
Went
figure that
fishing.
out?
I went fishing for a while. Got tired of that, and had an opportunity to speak. And truthfully, the pattern is so similar to football. You prepare depending on who you're speaking for. You perform at a high level for a short period of time. You evaluate what went on. You throw out what went wrong.
Hmm.
Repeat what went right, and get ready for the next group. And that's I've been a professional speaker for longer than I was a professional football player. I've been
Yeah,
a
it's
professional
amazing.
speaker for 20 years. This is my passion. I love helping meeting professionals put on memorable events. Uh, I love uh, I love it when I get the emails and the phone calls, and you made a difference in my career. You made a
Uh-huh.
difference in my family. You made a difference
Uh,
in my life. So that's special.
that's exciting. Well, how long did it take you to kind of hone your message, or how did you even figure out what your message was going to be?
Well, I didn't know. I got involved with the National Speakers Association early on in my career,
Uh-huh.
uh, and not only did I learn stage uh, presentation, how to do the presentation stuff, but I learned about the business of it because I had no idea about
Yeah.
business. I was a linebacker. I was a biology major. I was not a business guy. So the whole sales and interaction piece of it was something that I just I grew into.
Uh-huh.
I think I call it an all pro mentality. Prepare thoroughly, perform decisively, evaluate honestly, and adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
Uh, I learned that early on, and I was able to get better and better and better as the years
Uh,
went by.
uh,
Not only as a football player, but then again as a speaker, applying
uh, uh.
that same principle.
Now, is that actually the message you are delivering to your audience, or what are you actually talking to them about?
I talked to them about keys to success, teamwork, with leadership being the ultimate expression of teamwork,
Mhm.
courage, the courage to try new things, and the
Mhm.
courage to be decisive, a dedication, which I describe as hard work, constant learning, refusing to quit, desire, that's the dream, the passion, the mission,
Mhm.
honesty and forgiveness with yourself and self evaluation and with others. And
Mhm.
finally, goal setting, reasonable, short term, specific steps to get you to those desires, those passions, those missions.
And are those all things you learned in the NFL, or those things you learned getting to the NFL, would you say?
Some of each. They were reinforced along the way. I mean, the team piece is something that I think is missed a lot in our school system.
Uh-huh.
Uh, everybody's concerned about their own grades and their own stuff, and it's tough to really understand what a team is until you work in those in the situation like I did as an athlete. I insisted that my kids were either involved in athletics, music, or theater, just because, or Boy Scouts. I had one in Boy Scouts, but all those things really teach the team aspect of life. And once you get out of school,
Mhm.
it's all about teams. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is.
How did you even pick the topic of being a motivational speaker? Did someone suggest it to you? I mean, you could have done a million things. How did it
I
even
could have. I
explain?
could have. The thing I miss most from football was the adrenaline.
Mhm.
Get up in front of a group of 1,000 people and try to remember what you meant to say. And that
Yeah,
adrenaline
yeah,
comes
yeah.
right back. I'm a storyteller. I grew up with storytellers. My dad was a great storyteller. His dad was too, and to be able to apply those stories. I've got probably 45-minute stories that I cut and paste depending on the group. And what changes is between the stories. Then I point it back at the group and their challenges and their needs and their interests.
Hmm.
And it works great. Now, did it always work great? First speech I gave? No. But 20 years in, I'm pretty darn good at it.
Interesting. Well, when you look at it now, like, does it kind of fit you? I mean, were you in high school or maybe as a kid kind of a good as an orator or standing in front of people? I mean, not everyone can give speeches.
Yeah, no, that was not the plan. That was definitely not the plan. But I was always a show off. I was always somebody who would try to win, was very competitive, wanted to do my best in every situation. And I think having that type of an approach helps in the speaking world.
Yeah.
There's so much competition. There's so many different ways a meeting planner can go if they want to go that way. You've got to find what's special about you.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the way I found that out is through referrals,
Huh.
is through asking for referrals and what makes me different. Um, I my on my email, my tagline is celebrity draw without celebrity attitude. And that came
Love it.
directly from my clients.
Love it.
We love the way you interact with our people. The on-stage stuff is awesome, but it's the off-stage stuff that really sets you apart. So
Interesting.
so that's something that I've worked on.
Who are some of the audiences you've spoken to? Give me a feel for kind of who you've spoken to.
Wow. Okay. So last week I spoke for the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association.
Huh.
Last week I spoke for a group called Taproot, and Taproot is a group that they have a system that allows people to get to the root cause of industrial accidents.
Huh.
And it's a whole system that they put up. So I spoke for those two. I've spoken for all kinds of groups. I
Huh.
just signed a contract. I'm going to speak for uh, Sterling staff at their school system.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
although, the things I talk about are universal.
Yeah,
They're
just yeah, right.
they're things that apply across the board. It's up to the audience to figure out how they're going to apply them in their
Yeah,
lives.
yeah. So it's not important for you to necessarily know anything about that business or anything.
Right. I spoke for the Web Sling and Tie Down Association once. Don't even ask. So yeah, all kinds of different groups,
Yeah,
all kinds of yeah. So it's a people thing.
yeah,
And to me, um, I throw a lot of stuff at the wall, and each individual is going to figure out what applies to them in their
yeah,
life and their
yeah.
situation and what their needs are.
Are you constantly honing in your message and improving it and also learning and adding to it? Tell me what your own personal growth is.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I want to add stories and add I used to just talk about the old days and John Elway and then a little throw in a little Peyton Manning, a little Tom Brady, and it just keeps moving in those directions. But yeah, you've got to keep up to date. You've got
Yeah,
to obviously it has to be personal for me anyway. I'm not up there telling Ben Franklin stories. So it's got to be something connected to me.
yeah, yeah,
And it's got to be something that tells a story that applies in one lesson or another. And yeah, it's fun. I end up speaking for groups that you would think 75% female type groups, or and it applies still.
yeah,
You
yeah,
don't
yeah,
have to know anything about
yeah,
football
yeah,
to
yeah.
to appreciate where I'm coming from.
When you were playing in the NFL, did you ever think for a second, gee, this is going to be useful for something later?
Yeah, I was just hoping I could still walk when I got out.
What is your best memory then of your playing days? Like, what is,
Wow,
or
my
the
best
best
memory.
memory? Yeah, what is your best
Yeah,
memory?
you know, I think they all go back to teammates. I played with some amazing guys.
Yeah.
Played with a guy named Gary Kubiak. Gary Kubiak was
Uh-huh.
a head coach for the Broncos when they won one of the Super Bowls. But
Uh-huh.
Gary was a seventh round pick the year that I was a 12th round pick, and Gary had worked his way up to where he was going to be the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos, and then they traded for John Elway, and he
Huh.
wasn't going to play. and he spent that year and the rest of his career behind John, supporting John, John's roommate. He was a leader on the sidelines for us. I mean, he was the scout team quarterback, which means he's the guy who acts as if he was the other team's quarterback. And he used to study those quarterbacks and figure out how he threw the ball and who he threw the ball to, and get us ready for the game. And I remember before every game, Gary'd come up to me and say, "Meck, hold up the class." And I asked him, what is it? I never did ask him, but I thought about it. What does that mean? And obviously we're drafted the same year, but the other thing is, Gary had worked all week long to get me ready for the game. He was going to be sitting on the sidelines with a clipboard and a baseball cap on. It was my job to go out and hold up the class. He'd already done his work. So, an amazing guy, an amazing, I don't know, he won, he played in 2 Super Bowls with us. He won Super Bowl with San Francisco. He won a Super Bowl as an assistant with the Broncos. He won a Super Bowl as the head coach with the Broncos. I mean, he won all that stuff. And he was John's backup. That's who he was.
That's so interesting. When you joined the NFL, when you first drafted, did you like it right away, or did you think about quitting? Like, you didn't like it? What did you think when you first
I loved it. Let me put a helmet on and hit somebody. Yeah, no, I like football. That was never an issue. It was tough though. I was the 310th pick of the draft, 12th round. They got 7 rounds now. I was 20 guys away from Mr. Irrelevant. That's the last guy I picked. I got to training camp. They assigned me the same number as somebody who was a starter on the team. That's not a good sign. That week, I got a hole in one of my socks. And so I went to the equipment manager and asked for another pair of socks. This is the first week of training camp. He said, "What's the matter with the other sock?" He only gave me 1 sock. You know where you stand when the equipment manager treats you that way. So I had to work my way in, and it wasn't easy, but it was fun. It the challenge, this is as far as you can go in this industry, and to rise to the top of that was pretty special.
Yeah, right. Is it too late to go to medical school?
Yeah, I made a choice a long time ago. I'm a patient, not a doctor.
Well, Karl, it's been a fascinating conversation. It's really a pleasure talking to you, and I loved hearing your story, and congratulations on your success as a motivational speaker.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate the opportunity.
This is Richard Hsu and Karl Mecklenburg. Thanks.